Hello everyone, I'm Sahil from CodeHelp. Welcome back to another video. Let's get started. In this video, we will be learning about classes in TypeScript. Let me just put a watch on my index.ts file by tsc index.ts -w, and let me just hit enter, and also let me just run my live server by clicking on the go live button in the bottom right corner. So now let's start. What are classes? A class, in terms of object-oriented programming, is a blueprint for creating objects. A class encapsulates data for the object that we want to create. Now let's say I want to create a class for maintaining data of several students. Then how can we create a class for maintaining the data of our type student? So it's very simple and similar to other programming languages. We use the keyword class followed by the name that we want to give to that class. Let's say student in our case, and followed by open close curly braces. So this you have as an empty class created for us. Now, inside the class, we can add different properties, also known as member variables of the class, which student objects will have access to. So these properties that will define inside the class will be encapsulated and will be made available for the objects created. So let's start with adding a few properties to our class student. Let's say we want to add a property name which will denote the name of the student. So we can do that by writing name. Also, I would like to define the type of this property as well, which would be of type string. So let me add colon, a string. And also let's add another property, course. So that would denote the course that student is enrolled for. So let's add course, and its type would be string also. So we can add a member variable by writing in the variable name followed by the type of that variable. So the member variables are added now. Now, as we have our class created, we can create further instances of this class. So let's just create one. So we can create an instance by let student1 equals, use the new keyword followed by student and followed by open close parenthesis. Now what this will do is call the constructor method of the class student, and it will create a new class and will assign the instance of that class to our variable student1. As of now, we don't have any constructor defined explicitly, so for the time being, assume it will use a default constructor created automatically whenever we create a class in TypeScript. Soon we will see how can we create our own constructor as well by using the keywords given by TypeScript. Now, the instance created student1 will have access to these two properties, name and course. So how can we access these properties using our instance student1? So we'll just see now. We can access the member variable using dot notation as student1 dot name, and we can assign any value to it as, let's say I want to give the name as Sam. Let's try logging the value assigned to the name member variable onto the console by console.log student1.name. Also similarly, let's add the course name as well by student1.course equals to, let's say, TypeScript. Now let me just log it to the console to check whether our object student1 is having the value to the properties which are assigned by us. So let me just log it to the console student1.course. Let me save the file and check the output on the console. So we can see it is having the values as Sam and TypeScript. Also, we can log the entire object as well. So if I remove the property name after the dot notation and just use the object name and log it to the console, then it will give me the output in the form of key value pairs. So let me just save this and check the output on the console. So you can see on the console the same values are coming, just they are in the form of key value pairs. Now we made the properties of the class to be of specific type only, like name will be of type string. Similarly, we can bind the instances of the class to be of that class type only. Now you must be wondering how can we do that? So let's move on to that. Let's say I want to create an array of instances of student class. Then I can do something like var student array colon. Now I want this array to only allow objects of class student. So I can give the type to this student array as student followed by the square brackets, as I want this to be an array. And let me just initialize it with an empty array. Now, student array won't allow me to enter anything other than the instances of class student which we have created above. So let's say if I try to add a string by student array dot push any string value, let's say hello world, it will give me an error, as you can see on the screen. But I can add an instance of class student, and that should work fine, as I have defined the type of student array to be of type class student. So let's try adding an instance of class student. So we already have an instance of class student created as student1, and TypeScript also has assigned it to be of type student. So we can confirm it by hovering over it. So if I'll check here, so this student1 is of type student. So how did that happen? So as you already know, TypeScript did so by inference, as we initialize it with the constructor of that class using new keyword. So now let's try adding our object to the array by student add.push, and in the brackets let me just mention student1. And as we can see, it is not giving me any error whatsoever. Let me create another instance of class student as well. Let me just copy paste the existing instance student1 and change it to student2. And also let me reassign the properties as well. So let's change the name to Matt, and let's change the course to, let's say, Java. Now let's push the second instance into our array by student array dot push student2. Now let's check the output of our student array on the console, and let me just add a console.log for the student array. So let's save the file and move to our console. So we can see here we are getting an array of student classes objects being shown on the console, and if I explore it, it contains two properties, name and course, and also the array has two objects contained in it, student1 and student2. So that's how we can create classes and add properties to it. Also, we can use the template of our class student created above and create as many objects as we want and use them in our entire application. So that's all in this video. In case you have any doubt, you can mention them in the comment section. So guys, hope this video helped you. If it did, please like it, leave a comment, share it with your friends, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you and see you in the next lecture.